So let's say you know you're talented, you know you've got potential, but you've been in a difficult relationship. And now, since that difficult relationship, you can't shift this panic around money and wealth. If you have experienced any kind of financial betrayal of any kind or a difficult relationship, you might find the result of that has been that it's actually impacted your wealth in some way. You might have given up on your career, or you've lost your career or the motivation for your career. We will look at how you will become comfortable with wealth in this video. The 7 steps to creating financial freedom. And on top of that, if you feel anxiety that you might not have enough money and you feel like you can't invest in your time and energy into the right people or the right things or the right relationships, and this constant fear that is holding you back from moving forward, this is the video that is for you. It's the video I wish I had watched 15 years ago so I could have really understood wealth management and wealth development and saved myself so much heartache and pain in the name of wanting financial security. And we are going to cover this by thinking about wealth, the 7 key ways of getting and creating wealth. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to forget talking and thinking about money, because sometimes this can trigger trauma. Instead, we're going to look at wealth and prosperity and really break this down. And we're going to focus on generating wealth and prosperity so that we can bypass the trauma that gets triggered in the brain and help you resolve the issue around money and create a financial freedom. So let's begin. So, one of the best places to start is to look at the people that have generated wealth. Let's look at the successful people and see what are they doing that other people aren't doing. So then we can see what is it that we need to do. If we look at them, we know that one of the things that they do really, really well, one of the habits that they have is that they don't care if you agree with them or not. They have their vision and they genuinely do not care if you listen to them or whatever anybody else thinks. They don't follow what other people tell them to do. They know and understand that every single person has their own experiences and you will not have the same experiences as they have. So they will listen to people's advice. They will listen, but they won't genuinely care when they know that actually I can't follow that person because one, they don't have the skill set to be able to, tell me what it is that I need to do. Two, their circumstances are different from mine. So I need to do something different. And actually, their vision is different from mine. So I need to do something different. Now, when this is really key, that successful people do not care about the opinion of other people. They're so focused on their vision rather than what other people are thinking and saying about them. So what happens when we've been in a difficult relationship is that you might have grown up in a closed family system. Okay. If you have grown up in a system or a family culture where you had to listen to what other people said, you had to do what they said, and you weren't really allowed to have your own vision of how you want to live your life. You were trained basically from a young age to be compliant. You were trained that if you didn't follow, or if you had a different opinion or a different vision from the family system, then you would be ostracized. Now, I really want you to understand that in order to generate wealth and prosperity, it could be that you need to just break down this trauma that you might have experienced as a young age, where you're allowed now as an adult to have your own vision, to have your own thoughts, to have your own dreams, and actually pursue them without worrying about what other people think, because you acknowledge that their experiences are different from yours and that you want to do something completely different. So if we look at how a successful person only thinks about their own vision and what they want to do and takes on board feedback, but really makes decisions based on what is right for them. It's hard if you have trauma from being in a closed family system to actually just program yourself to do something different. It's like your brain just, goes down a certain path. Every time people give you advice, you feel like you have to take on board what they say, because actually it's a life or death thing for you, where it would mean that as a young age, you couldn't risk not following what the family system does. Otherwise, it would mean that, you wouldn't survive in the world because you wouldn't have a caretaker. So I really want you to take on board this and not give yourself a hard time if you find that you do care about what other people think and say. And if you recognize that that is the thing that's holding you back, this isn't a time to give yourself a hard time, but it's really understanding what's happened to you that's made you worry about what other people think, and that maybe that is the thing that's holding you back in terms of generating wealth and using your skill set. But now at this age, you can now start to look at, what is my vision? What is it that I really want to do? And start thinking and going to the people that will be able to support you in creating that vision. And if you find that there's just too much fear around doing what you want, or there's fear around failure, then it's probably well worth you actually releasing that trauma that might be stopping you, that's childhood trauma that you just don't need anymore. So you want to be able to move forward and not care about what anyone else is saying, so that you can move forward. Now, the second thing that we can look at in terms of what successful people do is discipline. They create discipline. One of the major things is they look at focusing on what is going to create success for them in the long term, not so much what's going to be easy right now. It's really important to, especially in today's world, there is no real thing as a get rich quick scheme. There really isn't. But if you look at a relationship and just examine that, if you have been in a difficult relationship or a toxic relationship, maybe you've experienced someone who's a narcissist or who maybe has psychopathic tendencies, what you'll realize is that you became compliant and you got trained to try and survive just now. You were living and walking on eggshells, and you were basically on high alert, just trying to make everything easier right now. And what happened was, by going down the easy route, you actually made things more harder for yourself in the long run. What we've got to do is almost change the way we work and say, okay, I want to change and start using my brain in a way that is successful and generates wealth by looking at not so much what's easiest for me to do now, but what's going to make my life easier in the long run. So it's all about, so successful people, what they do is they face what's not working right now so that it can make things easier in the long run. And that's what we want to do. So if we have tried, or we've begun trained to just put up with stuff now, what we're doing is making things more difficult for us in the long run. And you want to create things that you want your life to be easier, not harder. So that's what we've got to do. So I really want you to spend some time just to reflect on, what can you face right now? What can you fix right now that will make your life easier in the long run? What is not working for you right now that you could focus on fixing or making better so that it makes your life easier in the long run? Now, unfortunately, we can't fix people, we can't change people, but we can change what we do. So, what can you do so that you're in control of yourself moving forward? That's what you should start to really look at starting today. And maybe this is a question you want to ask yourself every single day. Every single day, you look at your life and you think, okay, where do I want to be in 12 months' time? You make a list, maybe, 10 key things that you want to achieve every in the next 12 months, and then go, okay, if there was one thing that would really change my life right now, what would it be? And you just circle one thing and you break that down and go, okay, what can I do to make this happen so I can make my life easier in the next 12 months? Yeah. So that you can start to build what it is that you want. So that's a really good idea. So that you don't start putting up with things that don't work anymore, because you're worth fixing things for yourself. You're worth it. The third thing that I really want to look at is this whole thing of not being enough. When we've been in a difficult relationships, one of the most difficult things that we've had to put up with is this feeling of not being good enough. They didn't love me. So it must mean that I'm not good enough for them to change for me. They they might critique you. They might have, told you everything you're cooking wasn't good enough. There's not enough salt in it, or you're not working hard enough. You don't love me enough. You don't everything there's just not enough. They're trying to exhaust you to the point where you start to have a belief system that I am not enough. I am not enough. Now, when we look at wealth generation and we look at that belief system, because whatever we believe either creates the future that we want or destroys the future that we want. Okay. So if we've got a belief system that says, I'm not good enough, then what we're doing is saying that I am not enough. Yeah, as an individual, I'm not enough. And what will that do to your wealth? Well, if I'm not enough, I don't have enough. I don't have enough. That means that you don't have enough to give to the world. You don't have enough in your bank account. And we've got to stop believing that we are not enough to be able to create the wealth that we want, that you are enough to create the wealth that you want. So that's the next thing that you really need to look at, is catch yourself every single time you think you're not enough, because you are. And maybe you really want to explore this in a journal today and look at, okay, what do I think I'm not good enough at? And is that really fair? Is it fair to think that I'm not good enough or I don't have any skills? If you want to build wealth into your life, you need to have better conversations with yourself. I am good enough. I have enough. I have a skill set. I have something to give to another person. And then as you start to give, as you start to serve others and you see the value, what you have, then you will start to get more paid, because you know that you allow yourself to receive because you can have the things that you want. On that point as well is when you start to believe that you are enough, we can then start to build resilience. You keep getting up because you believe that you are enough. You've got something to give. The problem is when we don't believe we're enough, we don't actually get up. It's harder to get up because we feel hopeless. We feel helpless because we've stopped believing in ourselves. We don't stop believing that we've got enough to give to another human being. So another way of really building your wealth is to know that you have something to give. You have a skill set, you have a talent. And the fourth thing that I really want you to look at is, what kind of words do you use? Sometimes in our culture, we can use words quite dismissively, where if someone says, how you doing? You might just say all the things that you feel really bad about. Or sometimes we even use language like, oh, that's sick, and it's really looking at your words. Are you using wealthy words? Are you telling yourself that I am, things are excellent? That's excellent. That food was really great, so that you can start using words where you're seeing that you are having wealth of experiences, where you have something to explain and express into the world. So I really want you to, over the next 7 days, start noticing the words that you're using. Are you using words like fine, or are you using words like excellent, happy, successful? Because If you look at words, words are programming you all the time, and you need to program yourself with wealthy words, with words that instill a feeling of wealth in you. If we look at the greats that have really shifted society and really made a difference in the world, what have they done? People like Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, they freed societies. They did so much in the world. And what did they do? What did they use? They didn't get up and fight a war. They used words. They used words to inspire people, and you can use words to inspire yourself. They use words to inspire and free. What you're trying to do is liberate yourself so that you can create wealth in your life moving forward. Liberate yourself from the toxic or difficult relationship so that you can get yourself back. So I really want you to look at the words that you're using on a regular basis. Just become aware. Are they uplifting you? Are they inspiring you to make a huge change in your life where you're going to create wealth, you're going to create prosperity? And what kind of people are you listening to? Are you listening to people that create wealth, that create prosperity in your life? You see, words can either cultivate fear, or they can generate you to feel love for living, to love your work, to love others, to love you. When we look at fear and when we're in difficult relationships, the reason why they're difficult is they make us feel bad. It's a feeling they create within us about ourselves. And sometimes we feel that we need them to feel better about ourselves. That is an inspiration. When someone's really inspired, they help you see how your greatness within yourself, they're not there to instill fear in you so you feel worse about yourself. It's all about making you and uplifting you so you feel the best version of yourself within yourself. So let's just take a moment to reflect. Why would anyone want to make you feel fearful in the first place? Why would any human being want to do that to another human being? Well, one of the reasons is that they want to control you. If you feel fearful, then they have a power and control over you. Someone that inspires has no need to have power and control over you. That's what the greats did, is they inspired people to know their own greatness. Yeah. Words are so powerful and they're so important. So please just watch. What kind of stories are you telling yourself? If you're in therapy right now, are you empowering yourself through the therapy that you're doing? Or are you disempowering yourself by talking about what's happened to you, but it's not enabling you to be able to move forward? If it isn't, then it could be that you actually need trauma therapy and you need some more therapy to actually inspire you to make the most of your life moving forward, rather than repeating the story that's actually disempowering you over the time, all the time. If we look at our income that it's actually a reflection of our identity, our self-identity, of what we think we're worth, and the programs that we're telling ourselves over and over again that is impacting our self-identity. The problem is that when we've been in difficult relationships, there's a new program in there, and we need to let that go because it's not serving you. And usually that program is over the top. There's a reason. It's making meaning of an emotion that is too difficult to process. Something like, I'm not good enough for love. They didn't love me. That's the real emotional pain. And then the program might be, I'm not good enough. Yeah, so it's releasing the program, but also releasing the emotional pain associated with it. So if you've been in a toxic relationship, narcissist or psychopath, you will be impacted financially in some way, because those people around you, they've brought your worth down through the words and the way they've treated you and the way they have programmed you during that period of time to think that you're not good enough, and it would have impacted you where maybe your career has plateaued since you've been in that relationship, but before you were actually really doing quite well. So notice the kind of people that you're hanging around. If you want to be the best version of yourself, say you want to be an artist, then be around some of the great artists. Go to the places and immerse yourself around masterful artists, people that want to be the best. You need to be the best. Forget trying to worry about doing everything right. Just find your thing, find your passion, find your vision of what it is that you want to do, and just be the best at that. That's what successful people do, is they don't dilute themselves trying to do everything. They focus and really focus on being the best and learning the most that they can in that area. So if you really want to set yourself up to believe in your own wealth, you need to stop believing in somebody that you need somebody else to create your wealth, because until you can see and feel your own worth, your own value, and what it is that you have, you need to feel like you have something, you have enough. Then your brain can feel safe enough to actually allow you to get to your cortex. So otherwise we stay stuck in our primitive part of the brain, or the amygdala, where we feel fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or fear. And the only way we can engage in the cortex, which is the thinking part of the brain that solves problems and things like that, is when we are feeling safe, that knowing that we have something. And that's really important. Number 5 is this. One of the basic things around investment, wealth generation, is investment. If you can't get anything without investing in yourself, it's really not possible. Otherwise, you'll stay still. In fact, there's no such thing as staying still, because things are always changing. You'll just be on a slow decline. Okay. So you need to, if you want to generate wealth and prosperity, you have to invest in yourself. Now, you might need a skill. You might need therapy to release some of the trauma that you've experienced. It might be that you need to learn something. You might be that you need to get a book. You might need to invest in yourself. Now, the key around investing is that you know that you are worth enough to invest in. If you don't know you're worth enough to invest in, then you won't be able to shift this. Okay. And know that every single person has something. You have something that nobody else has because of your experiences. So you need to find that thing that you are here to bring and start doing it. And it might be that you are here to bring joy to people through art. But right now, you don't have the resources to go out and paint something or go for the course that you're meant to do. You start with wherever you can by just going out to the world and smiling at as many people as you can. So you're bringing joy to others. You start that process. You have something to give to others that will make a difference. You can go out and read a book. You have to be willing to invest in yourself, because you know that you will get that return on investment, because you believe that you're worth it. You see, words are so important in rebuilding your identity, because it's those programs that actually impact what actions we take. So if you are not willing to invest in yourself, it could be that you just don't think it's not worth it. Nothing works for me. So it's that program that is stopping you from actually building anything. So then you don't even try to actually. So if procrastination, for instance, is just a fear, it's fear. It stops you from building because you're fearful maybe of rejection. So then you need to release the trauma around rejection or abandonment, so that you can get to that point of what the other successful people are doing, because there's nothing different about the successful people and you. It's just that they have different habits. So if you could cultivate those habits of not caring about what other people think, taking advice from people and then choosing what you want to do, starting to use more positive, inspiring words, finding your skill set, investing in yourself so you can do something, then you too can be successful. There's nothing stopping you from doing it, but it is investing in yourself. It is making that change now. So another thing that I'm going to come to is love, right? Self-love really builds confidence. Self-love does basically the opposite of what people think, what the narcissist does. Self-love helps you become like this humble servant, wanting to serve people. You get so steeped in love that you want to love everybody. You're so full that you want to love the world. You want to be grateful for whatever you can do, but you don't invest your time into people that don't value you or don't want to change, because you're so focused on helping people that do want to change. Now, number 7 is something that I think about a lot. And I know that you're going to think I'm a little bit crazy, but I think I've only got about 33 years to go on this planet. Okay. So I have that in mind. I think, okay, how many years have I got left, really, realistically, on this life? It gives me an idea. Okay. So if you've got a family birthday, for instance, and I think to myself, okay, I've got 33 more of these experiences. I've got 33 birthdays with my children. I've got 33 birthdays of my own, 33 Christmases of my own. I'm not here forever. I am going to pass away at some point, but I want to make the most of the time that I have got. Sometimes we need to start with the end in mind and think, okay, I've got about 33 years. I've got 33 of these birthdays. How do I want to use or experience this one? What do I want to do so that I really enrich and make my life of enjoyable and worth doing? What is it that I'm worth investing in so that you can then really make the most of your life? Now, I really want to, if you've been through a difficult scenario, I just want to say that I'm really sorry that you've been through what you've been through. And I know it actually causes a lot of fear and a lot of pain and a lot of trauma. But pain also purifies us. It gives you the courage to go through difficult times that most people don't experience. What you've been through is so unique. And sometimes we don't value the strength, the courage that you have for being here right now, to listen to this video, to actually invest in yourself and your time to keep going. What you've been through has been so difficult, but I want you to get the worth out of this experience. There's a wealth of experience that you could use to help others if you understand and that pain purifies. Courage is what gets us through difficult times. It gives you the courage to go, who am I and why am I here? And when you can really understand how much of a better person you are, how much more compassionate, how much more understanding, how much more knowledge and experience that you have through the experience that you've been through, that you would never be able to explain to somebody, that experience that you've been through is huge. Now, when we look at cults, and people that control, they use pain in a different way. They think by inflicting pain, they purify the society and stuff. If you look at Hitler, it's not actually what happens, it's the opposite. They're just really not good people. But it's actually when we go inward and actually heal the pain that we feel inside us and face it, that we purify ourselves and know what it means to be a human being, to really feel joy, to feel emotions, to feel compassion, to truly connect with somebody else. You would not be able to connect with somebody else as much as you have now that you've been through this pain, as long as you heal from it. Otherwise, we just create a fortress around us and we don't want to connect with anyone. But what you have, this experience that you have, could really be of use to other people. And that's when you can start to feel the wealth within you, the value that you bring, the compassion. There are no words for compassion. And if you think about the greats, we go back to the greats, what made them inspire so many people to liberate and make huge changes in the world? Compassion, pain. It made things better. Pain purifies. You too, through the suffering that you've experienced, can make a change in the world that will actually be a good change because of what you've been through. So I really think that it's important to acknowledge what you've been through. It is trauma, it is difficult. But if you want to actually cultivate your vision, cultivate what it is you want, manifest the life you want, then you can do it. I've had women who have doubled their income as they've healed their trauma because they're releasing all the pain and they're actually getting their value back, getting their wealth back, getting their mindset back, getting their emotions back so that they can create what it is that they want through believing and trusting in themselves again, getting their life force back. So if that's something that you're interested in, please do apply for a free one-to-one with either myself or somebody in my team. And from there, we can look at whether we're aligned for the Heal to Thrive program. And I would love to, work with yourself on that. But if whatever you decide, it's so important to come back to square one, which is as you start releasing all the trauma, you get to a point where you really start to trust and believe in yourself and not listen to what other people are saying, but focus on your vision. And then you actually create the wealth within and see that you are already worthy. I really hope that you are compassionate and loving and kind to yourself. Cultivate self-love, cultivate compassion for yourself, for what you've been through, and really be loving so that you can start to heal yourself once more. Sending you so much love. Till next time.